Hello everyone, today's game is between Alexander Morozevich with the white pieces and Dmitry Yakovenko with the black pieces. This game started out as a Slav defense. So main line, knight of 3, knight of 6, knight c3 here. And d takes c4, a4, and not bishop f5 as you would expect, but e6. All right. Now, this is contrary to one of the leading ideas of the Slav, which is to develop the bishop on c8 outside of the pawn chain on the c8 h3 diagonal. All right. So black mostly will play this move bishop f5. All right. And as a matter of fact, going way back to the match between Alexander Alekhine and Efim Bogolyubov, who played this exact same variation with e6. Alekhine heavily criticized this move e6, blocking in uh, this bishop here. So it's interesting that you see some of the same ideas all of these years later resurrected. Uh, but we live in an age now where chess is more concrete than ever with the assistance of super powerful engines. So you see a lot of uh, old things resurrected. E4 here is the strongest way to play for an advantage here, of course. If E3 is played, and of course it's playable, it leads to kind of a transposition to a queen's gambit decline position. However, the a4 pawn is not, you know, really useful to white here. Okay, as it's really just a weakness here because usually, for instance, in queen's gambit accepted, when a4 is played, a4 is only usually played in reaction to a6 to stop the expansion of a6 b5. So in this variation, a4 is just kind of a move thrown out there when white could have probably used that tempo to castle or something like that. All right, so black doesn't even need to play a6 here, of course, and he can just use the time in a good way by just playing bishop d6 or something like that. So although e3 is playable here, um, it kind of allows black to equalize quickly with this loss of time here in this variation. So e4 here is white's strongest continuation. Bishop b4, exploiting, of course, the hole on b4 and threatening a pawn, by the way. So e5 and knight d5 is played. Of course, now black is threatening again. Knight e4 is possible with the same threat, although the knight is on e4 as opposed to d5. And queen c2 is possible. And an old game between Alekhine with the white pieces and a play named Helling, queen d5 was played here. And Alekhine simply brought his pieces out and played bishop e2. And after c5 was played, Alekhine played bishop e2, and then this player just castled. Helling castled, and knight takes c3. Alekhine played b takes c3, bishop e7, knight d2, c5, and then he just simply captured the pawn. And Alekhine developed a powerful initiative, as you can see here, with his bishop on d3, queen on e4, threatening checkmate. This forced a weakening of the king side. And in a few more moves, Alekhine obtained an overwhelming position as he just continued to mount an attack with his pieces, and as you can see, they're well placed, and he wind up winning this game uh, in short order. So in this game, knight d5 is played, bishop d2, and now b5 is played. A takes, and this is one of the main continuations because it forces black to part with this bishop. So now white gets the bishop pair. So B takes, and now C takes. So if black didn't part with the bishop here, then this pawn could be captured. Now knight g5 and knight c6, and already white is starting to build up his attack on the king side. So same themes as you saw in that Alicon game. It's just that the pieces are placed a little bit differently, but you see the similar pawn chain, c3, d4, and e5, all pointing toward the king side, and with the absence of defenders over there, that points the direction where where white wants to be attacking. And on the other side of the board, you see black is stronger over on the queen side. So you have this double-edged situation here where both players must be careful. Queen h5 is a blatant attack on the king. Of course, black's not going to castle. Powerful move by Morozevich, h4. All right, so this protects the knight here, and it also gives the option of bringing the rook up to h3, right? Just getting him in attacking right away instead of playing, say, bishop e2 and castling or something like that. It leaves the option open to play rook h3 and to g3 or f3 if need be. All right. b4, black continues his attack on the queen side. Bishop takes c4, b takes c3, and now bishop c1. And now knight d4 for black. So as you can see, black is looking good on the queen side. He has a free pass pawn. All right, and all he has to do is make sure he doesn't get checkmated on the king side or lose a vast amount of material. All right, but it's hard right now to really see exactly how white is going to attack the black king, especially since he's not going to castle over there on that side. So let's see what Morozevich has up his sleeve here. Castle, and now black plays the move h6, which is a little bit funny to me because after all, the knight really isn't threatened because the rook on h8 is not going to be able to the capture is not going to be able to be made because the rook on h8 will be hanging. All right. So maybe more useful is a move like knight c2 perhaps, or g6, at least driving away the queen somewhat. Another idea is queen c7, attacking both the bishop and the pawn at e5. And that probably forces bishop takes d5. So h6 is played here. And bishop takes d5 anyway for Morozevich. E takes d5. And then bishop a3. So, black's king is now stuck in the middle of the board. All right. Queen c7. And now that threat on the e pawn doesn't seem so intimidating now because the king is stuck in the middle of the board. So that pawn on the e file for white is actually protecting the black king. e6 by Morozevich. So he understands that that pawn is is a nuisance, and he uses the pawn as a battering ram. And I always talk about in my videos the reasons for pawn advances in the opening, at least according to Nimzovich. And one is to drive a wedge between the pieces. One is another reason to drive the enemy pieces away from important central squares. And another reason is to uh, simply attack the enemy position here. And this is what you see right here uh, is this threat against f7. And with this pin here against the king, things are looking very dangerous here. All right. So he sacrifices the pawn. Bishop takes, knight takes, and now queen d5. Rook d8, and now queen b3. So this illustrates black's main issues in the position. Okay, his king safety, and he cannot complete his development. His rook on h8 is out of the game, so it's as if he's down a piece at this moment, and his king is in the middle of the board. All right, with those problems, black can't really depend on having this passed pawn right now. All right, so all white has to do here is just continue to pile up pressure on the open files, and black's position will probably fall apart. h5. So effort to activate the rook, of course. Rook fe1, rook h6. Okay, so the rook is it's hard to say it's activated, but the rook has exercised its right to move. So uh, now queen b4 is very powerful. There's threatening mate. Now that the rook is moved off the back rank, queen. I'm sorry about that. I overlooked the king just escaping here. But a very powerful check is threatened here, and it's due to this pin on this knight. The knight is not able to capture on f8. So once the king would move, then queen takes f7 would occur with check, and black would start to lose massive amounts of material. So he plays king d7, rook ac1, rook b8, queen a4 check, and there's no way that black can survive in such a situation. Here, Morozevich just played bishop b4, and with the threat of rook takes c3, black just resigned. Another strong move is rook e3, of course, with the same idea of just capturing, and Jakovenko had to resign. So I hope you enjoyed that game. What did we learn from that game? Well, we learned that Alexander Alekhine does not like this move e6 in the Slav, that he likes the classical bishop f5, and this game would make him proud. The fact that e6 was so thoroughly dealt with, although improvements could have been made, of course. Um, but all jokes aside, we definitely learned that when you have opposite wing attacks, for instance, white was concentrating on the king side, black was concentrating on the queen side, that definitely king's safety is much more important than having an advantage on the queen side. The main issue with that is the game. The game ends with checkmate. So the king side attack usually will carry more weight than a queen side attack. So as you saw in this game, black had a clear passed pawn on the queen side, just ready to be promoted, in short order, right? However, his king came under attack, and that just changed the game. And then, ironically, he had to resign when that pawn came under attack, being the last protection or protector of his king. He was about to lose his queen in that instance. So that was a good game. I hope you enjoyed it. Please check my links below. Like and subscribe. Please donate and support my channel. And also the links will have DVDs and or books related to this opening that was on board today, which in this case is the Slav defense. So I'll see you guys tomorrow with another video.